Njëri për figurave kryesore politike në mesin e republikanëve, posaçërisht në administratën e kaluar të presidentit Trump, është Richard Grenell, i cili mbajti disa pozita të rëndësishme, po për opinionin kosovar, pozita e tij më e rëndësishme ka qenë ajo ndërmjetësuesit mes Kosovës dhe Serbisë. Ka qenë shumë afër marrëveshja, mirë po pastaj arrestohet presidenti Thaçi edhe niveli i bisedimeve bie pak. Richard Grenell është në një vizitë të befasishme në Kosovë, i cili dje vizitoi veriun e vendit, ata kam të ftuar mësonte mysafir. Mr. Grenell, thanks for having you here.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
What's the purpose of your visit in Kosovo now?
Well, I'm a private citizen now. I'm completely in the private sector.
Can a high official of former administration be a private citizen ever?
Sure.
Really?
Well, I think so. I mean, look, I don't have any position in government whatsoever. I'm on the outside, but let me just give you a vision. If you go back to the 4 agreements that I negotiated between Kosovo and Serbia, they were largely, if not exclusively, economic.
Yeah.
And that is a fundamental belief of what the Trump administration believed, is that governments put together structures and then the private sector must come in and invest. The private sector, capitalism, is the key. So I'm now in the private sector.
Okay.
And when I look at the world and working for a private equity firm and figuring out where do you want to invest, my heart is in the Balkans.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
Of course. I don't know. But why?
It's quite weird, by the way, because, I mean, Balkans, not much peace.
Are you
tensions.
saying you're weird?
No, weird the idea to come in the Balkans and to work in the Balkans.
Look, I can't explain why you're passionate about something. Does anyone ever know why?
I don't know.
When you fall in love, do you know why you fell in love?
No.
I think
when some questions you will never get.
Exactly. When you fall in love, there's always family members that say, what? Like, why did you fall in love with that person?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, are there people that are saying, why did you fall in love with the Balkans? Probably. But I have, and so I like to come here. I enjoy the people, I enjoy the food.
Okay.
Certainly the coast of Albania is probably one of the best in the world, and it's much cheaper. So I feel like I have a secret.
Yes.
So
between Belgrade and Tirana?
Oh, I like them all. I'm still a diplomat.
Okay. Some hard questions. There is a speculation online that you are paid by Belgrade.
Yeah. I've seen that before. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I've never taken any money from them. No, look, I think, I get uncomfortable even having to bat it down because then it's out there and it sticks and everything. Yeah. But I get it. We live in a world where there are rumors and you have to bat them down. Let me just say that something about this particular ugly rumor. It goes to the heart of what every person who is trying to solve problems has to deal with, which is you're biased. You are somebody who is, terrible on the other side. And look, it hurts because I am very proud of the fact that I think I'm the only human being to have ever lived on the earth to have received the highest honor from Kosovo government and Serbia government. Do you know of anybody who has received both the highest award from both governments?
Not even Mother Teresa.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I guess my point is that I feel very comfortable calling out the situation as I see it, trying to move us forward for peace. And when one side says, you're being paid by the other, it says more about them. Yeah. Because they are biased and they don't like the referee.
Would it be difficult for United States that one high official to take money from foreign governments and then to hope again to be part of the US government? Is it this filtered?
I would think that that's immoral and you can't do that, right? Yeah.
You visited north part of Kosovo yesterday.
Yeah.
I saw you walking in the main street of northern part of Kosovo. It is impossible for Albanians to go and walk there. Some people there...
Why?
They beat journalists, they beat civilians. Did you talk to them? Because
yeah, I talked to a lot of people. Look, I think that you and I have talked in the past about a perceived conflict.
Yeah.
Right? There are perceived conflicts where people say, oh, that's a terrible situation, so I don't even want to go there, or I have beliefs. I think Albanians can go to there.
It's difficult.
Look, maybe it's difficult, but it's not impossible, and we need to live in a world, and we need to have a vision where it is possible.
Yeah.
And so I would go with you and walk.
I would be very skeptical to go there. Listen, I have a strong opinion about our government, and it's public. We share some same opinions regarding the situation, but what I would not agree with you is regarding approach that Serbian government has toward Kosovo, and especially President Vucic, who is his best friends are blacklisted by U.S. government, like Radojiçiq, Veselinoviq, and they control the north part of Kosovo. It's quite a difficult situation, right?
Look, I'm super comfortable with the fact that you and I can be friends.
Sure.
And have different views.
Absolutely.
And on this particular issue, I think I'm more balanced than you. And here's why.
Yeah.
Let me just say this. I did not grow up in this region.
Yeah.
Wasn't born here. I don't have the same emotions that you do and that others do. I have total respect for that.
Yeah.
And I would even go so far as to say you probably have a way better understanding of the situation than I do. Mm-hmm. But there's a value. Okay. There is a value in having people who are not tied to the emotion look to the future.
Yeah.
And so am I going to do things that make you uncomfortable because you're looking at the past and saying, wait a minute, you don't know what they did or what whomever did? I get that. I respect that. And I don't want to come across as dismissive of that.
Yeah.
But I want you to also understand that you have that I have a value, and that you should look at the value that I bring to the table, which is I'm unemotional about the past, and I'm very emotional about the future.
Did you talk ever to President Vucic, let's say? I know that I think you have a good communication with him, as you had with Mr. Thaçi, and with Mr. Rama, for that matter. But he himself, we are not talking about Serbian people, about a specific guy. President Vucic was Minister of Information of Slobodan Milošević. He never made a clear distinction with his past. So many people were killed, not just in Kosovo, everywhere in the region, caused by Serbian army, bombed by NATO forces. He himself was in charge. So did you have a chance just to talk to him and ask, do you regret, at least for what you did and who you were?
Yeah, look, I think that your question is a legitimate question, but I would just go back to my previous answer, which is there's a huge benefit in having a person, and again, I'm no longer in the government, so it's when I was a former, there's a benefit to having a former referee, right? Somebody who doesn't look to the past. And again, when I talk about not having the emotions of the past, I get that some people are going to look at that and say, ugh, you're insensitive to us, you're stupid, you don't understand. I get it. I'll never be that emotional about the past, but there is a value in that. And all I'm trying to do is convince both sides is that I look to the future. I want your kids, I want our kids to not have to move to Germany and Hungary and Poland to get a job. I want them to stay here. I want them to stay in the north. I want them to stay in Belgrade and Tirana and Pristina. And I want people to say that we're working together to build an economy. Yeah. That perceived conflict that we have, many Western companies are not going to come here and build manufacturing plants and provide really good jobs because of a perceived conflict. One of the reasons why when I was doing this negotiation, that I was excited that we were moving forward and I started to talk about getting rid of NATO forces. Yeah. One of the reasons I wanted to do that is because I wanted to send a clear message to the Western companies that this was a place to come to. that you can hire really good people and that you don't have to worry about security.
Yeah.
And now, 3 years later, I've got a lot of people to blame, but 3 years later, we're in a worse situation.
Here we are.
We are adding NATO forces instead of taking away NATO forces. I have to say it. I'm a political person. I love Donald Trump, and this region was better under Donald Trump.
I read your tweet yesterday. You mentioned that police officers that were arrested, kidnapped, hijacked, depend from who is saying, should be released immediately. Did you have a chance to talk to Serbian government on this matter? Are you mediating for these policemen to be released?
The only thing that I'll say is, because I like to keep my conversations private, is yes, I have talked to them. That's all I'll say.
Is there any hope that this matter will be solved?
Rick Grenell always has hope.
Really? Okay.
Always.
Let's go a bit back. While you were mediating officially from U.S. government, Trump administration.
Former.
How close we were, and did anything change after Thaçi was arrested? Because we had an agreement with Hoti and Vuçiq. Was this the same agreement that you were mediating, or you just aimed a bit low when Thaçi was not anymore?
There was one key point that dropped off.
What?
And that was that we had agreement to end the international court at The Hague and to bring the court cases back to each country. Now, we weren't getting rid of the cases.
Okay.
If anybody had a complaint, they should utilize the courts of Kosovo or the courts of Serbia. And so getting rid of that ICTY and The Hague and Jack Smith's job, getting rid of all those people who had cushy jobs at The Hague was something that both sides agreed to. Wasn't easy, was difficult conversations, but I made that move internally in the US government to say, we're going to do this, and that's when all hell broke loose. That's
do you think that this was the reason why they hurried to arrest Thaçi?
Absolutely. They rushed because they did not want Donald Trump to get a win. They did not want to see this action of ending the courts. And look, my attitude back then, and it's different now because there's an indictment, but back then, my attitude was like, you've been investigating for decades.
Yeah.
It's time to stop. You clearly haven't been able to come up with anything specific.
Okay.
And look, I have a message from Bruce Schwartz, who was the point person at the Department of Justice, on my phone. And that was in January 29th of 2020.
Saying what?
And I won't go into details, but I will tell you that Bruce Schwartz made it clear that Jack Smith at The Hague was not happy that I was making a move to get the parties to agree to end this court. Now, look, some people watching are going to say, well, they couldn't unilaterally do it. You had to take it to the Security Council. We get that. But taking something like that to the Security Council with the full weight of the United States government, I think we had a good shot of getting rid of it. By the way, the American people are paying for the court. And after all these years of training judges in Kosovo, training judges in the region, it's time that we let the judges rise up. And by the way, the people of Kosovo, the people of Serbia should want this. This is a signal to the international community that you know how to deal with your own disputes.
Is it absurd after 23 years to dig again, to go back?
Yeah, of course it's absurd. And you want to know what the proof is?
Yeah.
The terrible indictment that's not specific, and the witnesses that are falling apart and kind of saying I was manipulated. I mean, Jack Smith's case against Hashim Thaçi has fallen apart.
Would someone in the United States be kept for 3 years
Never.
in a prison?
Never. It's outrageous. And the Europeans should be outraged. The Germans should be outraged that this is happening, but they're not.
They were arrested November. 3 years will be in this November. They have only 11 people witnessed until now. So they were kept 2 years in dark. And then for 2 or 3 months, they interviewed only 10 witnesses. how long this process will last, because they say they have 600 witnesses. So even if you win, they will be there for another 10 years.
Look, I think it's shameful that the Biden administration and the Europeans are allowing this to happen, that you're letting someone be in prison for 3 years. You can't talk about the rule of law. You can't wag your finger at other countries talking about justice if you let this happen.
Did you ever talk to Vuçiq while he was in prison? Did he ever call you?
I don't want to go into details on that.
Okay. What's going on in the United States? Are we going to see you again in administration if Republicans win?
Look, we got one administration at a time. The Biden administration is fully in charge of the United States, and we'll have an election, and we'll have a very loud, dramatic, messy election like we always do. I'm looking forward to it.
It looks tight. It looks tight. So polls for Donald Trump are quite high.
Yeah, I'm biased. I think that...
Are you biased?
We haven't had in modern history in the United States an election, a presidential election, that literally shows the two presidents going head to head on what they did when they were president.
Yeah.
Usually what you have is somebody saying, if I become president, this is what I'm going to do.
He had 4 years.
And you have to kind of hope and pray that they do that. Now, we're going to be able to show the Biden economy versus the Trump economy, the Biden global affairs versus the Trump foreign affairs. Tell me a country in the world that is better off because of Joe Biden. I don't think you could come up with one.
Joe Biden, for us as a Kosovars, we have an absolutely huge respect for him, for what he did for Kosovo.
In the past.
In the past.
In the past.
In the past. He was absolutely one of the greatest senators. He wrote the letters, he wrote editorials, he was
If letters vocal. And editorials would have done something big, then I would give you all that credit.
The only thing that we had
there are a whole bunch of senators who wrote letters and did a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
Joe Biden was around for a long time, so he was the chairman.
Yeah.
But Joe Biden, for the last 3 years, has done very little for this region. And I find it to be a huge problem. You look at the messes that we have, it's because there's no attention from the U.S. Remember, the U.S. policy right now is that the Europeans are in charge of Kosovo-Serbia negotiations.
I am absolutely a fan of domestic government in Kosovo to be bipartisan when it comes to the United States.
Smart, probably.
We absolutely should be careful, not supporting any of the other candidate, because we have friends in both sides.
Yeah, and we too. We should do the same thing.
It is stupid. What do you like most about Kosovo, Rick? Can you tell me?
I would say my friends.
Okay.
I love coming here because the people are amazing. I think that they're really hungry for freedom. They're hungry for capitalism.
Yeah.
They work hard. They're good people. And so I like coming because of my friends.
You were the first openly gay high official in administration. We had a parade a few days ago, Pride Parade, in which Prime Minister of Kosovo, for the first time, before him also Vuçiq did.
Yeah.
But I think we are the only country in the region with this open-mindedness regarding the
I think
diversity.
Serbia does too.
I haven't seen President Vuçiq going in the parade.
Oh, so I thought you were saying with the countries being open.
Yeah, but still, we have a Prime Minister of Kosovo who won 51% from a majority Muslim
President
country.
Vuçiq picked a prime minister who's openly gay.
Yeah.
That's pretty historic.
Yeah, it's pretty historic. So we have, again, I have my opinions regarding this government, but we are holding well. So we have good media, we have good civil society, strong constitutional court, strong courts. If you compare with the countries in the region, I think we are stronger. In all indexes, we are stronger.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you. And let me compliment Alvin Kurti on one thing.
Good.
Originally, when he was talking about weeding out corruption,
yeah,
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's really what needs to be done, and every single leader in the Balkans needs to talk about corruption. The problem is that he didn't do anything about it. He just talked about it. And again, my criticism of Elvan Kurti is that I can't come up with one idea that he's supported that the Americans wanted. He's always been against everything that the Americans have put forward. And so, look, we have a special relationship, United States and Kosovo. I want to protect that special relationship, but I think it's at one of its lowest points right now. I haven't seen so many Republicans and Democrats condemning the prime minister of Kosovo. That's a problem, and I think it needs to be fixed.
Last question. If we see you again in a high position, are you going to deal again with the Balkans from anywhere that you are in?
I mean, look, that's a big hypothetical.
I know.
Who knows what's going to happen in my life? Yeah. I'm a cancer survivor, so every single day that I wake up and I'm living, I'm happy. Let's let the future kind of play out, and we'll see.
Rick, thank you.
All the best.
Pleasure to interview you.